Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting tutorial. This is Ajalam here. Thank you so much for the love and support so far. And if this is your first time of coming across my channel, please subscribe and turn on the bell icon so that you get to know anytime I put up a new video. So guys, for today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a high-low peplum ball gown for a 4-year-old baby girl. So if you're interested, let's move down to work. Have 1.5 yards of an African print, and here I have 4.5 yards of net, okay, and I have my 1.5 yards of satin and 1 yard of lining. So I will start with the bodice. So for the bodice, like I will always advise to have your line as starting point. So this is my line here. Okay, so the bodice length is 10 inches, but we're making it 11. 1 inch, remember, is for my seam. Okay, so this is 11 inches here. I need to bring this up. Rather, let me use this other side. So this is 11 inches here. Okay. Alright, so this is 11 inches. So the shoulder measurement is 10 inches. It's 10 inches, so 10 divided by 2, because my paper is on fold, that is 5 inches, which is here. Okay, so I'll come down by ½ inch, which is for the shoulder slope, which is that point there. So for the neck width, I'll be using 2 3/4, which is here, and I'll use the same for the neck depth, which is also here. Okay, so now I'll connect that point. Now this is the neckline. Here you can decide to give it any shape of your choice. Okay, so this is the neckline there. Then I'll connect this point to this point. Okay, I decided to mark it out here so that you can see it very well. As you can see, the fabric has many colors. If I use chalk, you might not see all very well. Okay, so for the armhole, I'll be using 4 inches. So I will insert the shoulder, which is 5, and I'll connect it to that point there. So now this is the chest line. The chest is the chest is 23 inches. 23 divided by 4 is I think 5 3/4. Okay, so I'll add 1 inch for my seam, which is here. So now remember, here I have 4, so the midpoint now is 2 inches there. So I'll come in by 3/4 inch at that point. So now I'll connect with my French curve. If you don't have this, you can use your free hand and connect. So this is it. The waist is 22 inches, and that is 5.5. That is 22 divided by 4 plus 1 inch for seam, and I will now connect that line. After which I will show you how to cut the back before we now place it on our main fabric and cut it out. I will just fold. Okay, and I'll make sure I will leave 1 inch for the zip allowance. I am using this because I want the back to have the same shape of armhole. I want it to be the same on the back side. This is really optional. You can use the other method that everyone uses. Okay, for me, I find this very nice on the back. So this is 1 inch here. So I'll just pin this first. So this is it after pinning it. So here now I'll make this line to be straight so that you understand what I'm trying to do. So now this is the line. Here I will come down by ½ inch. This is ½ inch here. Okay, so I will just connect it to that line there, and then I will cut before I will now do the alteration for the back. After cutting it out, so this is the front. So for this back now, here I'll come up by, I'll mark out ½ inch. Remember, here I'll just connect it to this point. Okay, I'll just with my free hand and move it to that point. Reason being that by the time you join the front and back, one will not be longer than the other. So now for the back neck, I want it to be a deep neck, so I'll be using 5 inches for this. That is from this point. If you want to check it from this place, it should be 5.5. So this is 5 inches here. So now I'll just connect it to this point. So I'll use this ruler to give it the shape that I want. Okay, you can also use your free hand to do that. Okay, this is how I want the bag to be. So now I will just cut this out, after which I will now place them on the main fabric and cut. Then we will now start the sewing proper. Have 1.5 yards, as you can see. So I will just fold it into 4. I just fold it. This is 2 now. I will now fold it over again, the same way you fold your fabric when you're making a circle dress. Okay, as you can see, I folded it again. So here, this is 2 and this is 2. As you can see, this area is closed. This other side is also closed as well. So now this is it. So now the full length of this dress is 28 and the bodice length is 10. So 28 minus 10 is 18. So but for the peplum, I want it to be 14 inches. I don't want it to be the same length with the net that I'm going to use. So this, I'll be making it 14 inches. For the back side, remember, it's the high-low peplum. So for the back side, it will be 14. So what I'll do now is, from this side that is shorter, I will measure out 14 plus 1 inch for my seam, making it 15 inches. So here is 15 inches. So here is 15 inches. I don't know if you can see this chalk very well. So this is that is 15 inches there. So now I'll use my tape and check what I have from this up to that place that I just marked, which is what I have here now is 7 3/4. So I'm going to take that all round like this from that point, and I'll keep on marking it to the other end. Okay, so this is it. So now I will now mark out the same 15. I will use 15 and mark it all out first before I will now cut the front peplum. So this is 15 here. So as you can see, this is the line. I've marked out the 15 inches. So now I will just cut it out. After cutting it out, I will now open it up so that we can determine the front peplum, which is shorter because it is a high-low peplum. So after cutting it out, this is it. So I will notch this point, and I'll also notch these points here as well. After which now I will now open it up like this. Okay, so this place that we notch is now the sides together. Okay, that place that I just gave a small notch there. So now for the front peplum, I'll be making it 6 inches because I really want it to be short. So I'll add 1 inch for seam. That is 7. So here is 7. I'll mark that 7 here, and from this point now I'll trace it to go and meet up that place that I gave a notch there. So this is the point where I gave it a notch, as you can see. So I will use my free hand and I'll trace this thing. Okay, there are other ways of going about this, but I'm just doing this way is easier for me. So as you're tracing it, you make sure you join it with this one here. Okay, so now I'll just use my free hand and I move it, making sure that it will end up connecting to that point there. I hope you understand. Okay, so this is it. I will now cut it out. So I'll just cut it, making sure that it connects back to that point there easily. This is it. I hope you can see that. So now this side that is shorter is the front, while this side is the back. Okay, so after cutting it out here, now I'm going to do it in such a way it will now blend to avoid this sharp curve here. Okay, I'll just use my scissors and make sure it blends very well. Okay, so this is it. So now I'm going to cut this on a lining. That is the lining that I'll be using. So I'll cut it exactly the same shape. After which now I'll now cut out the hard net. As you can see, I'm opening it. This back. This is where we'll add the zip. So this is how to cut out a high-low peplum that you want to fix on a ball gown. So the next thing to do now is to cut out the lining. Here is 1.5 yards. I've already cut them out separately. So I will fold it the same way I just folded this African print before we cut it out. So let me fold it. So as you can see, I've folded it into 4 places. This is 2 and this other one is 2. So I'll fold the remaining 2 because I want it to be 3 layer. So I'll fold this remaining 2 like this and I'll pin it on top of this before cutting it out. So as you can see, I have the 3 layers on fold here. This is 1, as you can see, this is 2 and this is 3. So now to cut out the length for the down, remember we are using 18 inches. Okay, so I will start from this shorter side. This side is the short side, but there are some sides on this area that is not really long. So I decided to use 9 inches so that plus and minus everything will give me what I really want. This is really optional. You can, if you want it more full, you can use 11 to 12. If you want it not that full, you can use 6 and 7 to 8. It's still very okay. So for this, I'll be using 9 inches. This is 9 inches here. So I will just mark that 9 all the way to the other side like this. And after marking it out now, I'll now connect it. Then I'll mark out the length, which is 18 plus half inch for seam. So I'll be marking out 18 and half. So from this point I'll mark out 18 and half, which is here. So I'll do the same like this to the other end. So this is it. I've marked out the 18 and half. So I'll just hold it together like this and I'll cut it out. So this is it. After cutting it out, I will now gather it the same way I will do the peplum. I'm going to gather them separately. And I have 1.5 yards of satin. So I'm going to fold it the same way you fold your fabric when making a 180-degree flare. I don't want to use the other method for this so that the dress will not end up being too heavy for the girl. You know, this satin sometimes can be very heavy. Okay, so as you can see, I just folded it in a triangle form. Let me just trim this. So after that, now remember the length for the down part is 18 inches. So I'm going to make that 18 inches on the dot so that by the time we finish hemming, I will end up having 17 inches, which is very okay. So I will mark this point here. For this side, it will have a very light gathers. So now I will check what I have from this upper part to that point here. Here I have 10 inches, so I'll move that all the way to the other end like this. After that, now I'll mark out the remaining the length. So here is 18 inches, so I'll repeat the same to the other end. So this is it. I will now cut it out, and remember that I said earlier, for this I'll be making use of a little gather. So that is what I'll just do, after which I will join the nets. Remember to gather your nets separately. That is if you want to use the same method that I am using. So I'll gather the nets separately. So after that, this is the upper part. As you can see, I just joined the shoulders together and I closed up the armhole. So now I will just turn it over. You can see I've closed it up and I've given it a good press. So now this is the satin. I just gather it. Like I said earlier, I don't want it to be too heavy. So now since the waist is 22 inches, I'll make sure I have 23. Remember, 1 inch is for zipper allowance. So here is 28, meaning I need to draw it a little to give me 23 inches. After that, this is the net. So I'm going to have, as you can see, this I've done it already. Here is 23 inches. So I will now place it on top of the satin and sew, after which I will now place the peplum on it and sew before joining it on the upper part. So let me just do all this that I just said now. So this is the peplum. As you can see, I've added the lining, and as you can see on the waist, I've done the gather stitch. So now I will gather it to give me the same thing for the down part, that is for the waist, which is 23 inches. So I'll just gather it. After that, I will now place it on the net, on top of the net. So let me gather it. So after gathering it, this is what it looks like. So now I will place it on the net and sew. I'll place it over like this, and I will use the gather stitch to sew in case as I'm joining it to the upper part. In case I need any adjustment, I can easily do that. So I'll use the gather stitch now and join it. After that, I will join it with the upper part. So this is what it looks after joining it with the upper part. As you can see, is already looking beautiful. So now this is my lining. As you can see, the hard net is on it already. I just use a little hard net. To see more on how to attach hard net on a lining, you can check out my video on how to make a party dress for a year-old baby girl, and you will see step by step on how to do that. So now I will take this and join it with the lining. I'll give a little notch here, then I'm going to join it on this upper part, that is the side of the lining. After that, I'll close up the dress and I'll now show you the final look of the dress. Final look of the dress after joining everything. As you can see, it's already looking beautiful. Okay, so for the zipper, you can check out my video on how to fix an invisible zip to a ball dress, and you get to see how to do all that. So for your ball gown, if you want it to be more fluffy than this, all you have to do is to use the very hard net. This one that I use is not that hard, so if you use the hard one, the one that is very strong, it will really stand more than this. So that is it for today. Please subscribe if you have not, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon. I'll see you all soon.